January 23rd, I'm Kay Adams, who got a 4 on her AP Euro exam in high school.
Wow, look at
Kyle
you.
Brandt got a 2?
I don't remember. It wasn't a 4.
This is the only thing I've ever beaten you at in my entire life.
Oh, we'll have to play turnover soon.
You and I play together in turnover.
I know, that's true.
Come on, we're
Squad.
a team. This
Squad.
is Peter Schrager, Nate Burleson, and the countdown to Super Bowl 52 in Minneapolis is on. Good Morning Football will be there live. Come see us. Kick it with us in the morning. Peter wants to do like a whole line of selfies.
Yeah, Schrag selfies.
He will stand there for hours and take selfies.
It's the selfie line.
They call it a Schraggy.
They
Go
call
get
it a
it.
Schraggy.
They do.
Yeah.
They do now.
Sign up to be at the show. You guys can find it on our Twitter. We've been tweeting it out. You can be there in attendance. Nate Burleson will not talk to you, but I will be so nice to you, and I will just
No eye contact with Nate. That's the rule.
But let's really kick it back to last year and how incredible it was to have a live audience.
It's amazing. They had our heads on giant sticks. It's crazy.
Yes, and you guys were autographing them. I didn't.
Yeah, this year.
We will be at
Squad
the
goals.
Super Bowl, and so a very familiar face. And you've seen this guy at a Super Bowl once, or I don't know, like 7 times before. Let's kick it off with the lead block.
Lead block.
Brady first and goal, St. Louis 8-yard line. Brady drops back to throw, looks, fires right. Touchdown, David Patton! Touchdown, David Patton! They break the huddle with 3 tight ends. Play action fake, Brady fires, touchdown! Touchdown in the end zone! Good luck, Brady! Back to throw, Brady fires, end zone, caught, touchdown! Touchdown in the end zone.
They got a second down snap to Brady. Drop back. He lobs it to the right side for Gronkowski. Has a step. Has a touchdown. Patriots.
And Tom Brady has just set the record for the most career Super Bowl touchdown passes with 12.
Tom takes the snap. Backs up. Looks left. Throws it for Amendola. Touchdown. Patriots.
He ain't going anywhere. He will be there in clutch time.
Oh man, as long as TB12 is on the field, the Pats always think that they have a chance to win. It's a pretty good thought to have looking at these numbers. So I'm curious about some of these top storylines that we will be discussing leading up to Super Bowl 52. I've got topics. You tell me if you believe it or not. Clearly, Tom Brady lighting up the stat board. The stats I'm interested in, though, are 5 rings, 12 stitches, and 40 years of age. So I ask you, given those, the 5-time Super Bowl champ is as good as he has ever been, having one of his best years. Is he the best ever right now, believe it or not?
I believe it. In fact, the question is he better than he's ever been? Led the league in passing yards, one of the highest completion percentages of his career, but most importantly, he hasn't lost his best players in the past, okay? He didn't lose Moss. He didn't lose Troy Brown. He didn't lose Deion Branch. He's doing this last year without Gronk, this year without Edelman, last week without Gronk and Edelman.
Yeah.
I think he's better than he's ever been, truly, at 40 years old. The numbers bear it out, and so do the storylines.
You know, speaking of losing, it's funny when guys get older, the first thing they say is, you know, he lost a step. He lost a step. Brady has never been a threat to run his career. That's the most impressive thing. Me being a wide receiver and playing with quarterbacks that have been mobile, playing with quarterbacks that have sat in the pocket like a statue. Brady sits in there with the best of them. We talk about it all the time. He can deliver. He can grip it and rip it. We've seen the spirals even with the stitches. But the fact that he can sit in that pocket like a statue and they still can't get to him, which is great protection in front, but also the ability to sit back and pick defense apart like a surgeon. I'm saying he is as good as he's ever been.
Is he better than he's ever been? Because I feel like we should change the question to that, because he's playing as well as he had. His numbers are better than in for 3 recent Super Bowls.
Given his age, given the fact that every athlete gets slower, given the fact that he's had injuries, including ACL and lower body injuries, and has dealt with it supremely, yes, I would say he's better than he's ever been.
You know what's interesting? It's like when I think back to that 2007 season where he led the league in passing yards and touchdowns, and Randy Moss had 22 touchdowns and all that. I feel like that was like young Michael Jordan, who was like doing crazy dunks. And then this version is the 1998 Michael Jordan, who relied on the mid-range game and would back you in and then do the turnaround jump shot.
Great call.
Cerebral. That's what he is right now. He can dissect anything at the offensive schemes, and then when he's at the line of scrimmage, it's almost like Josh McDaniels is him at quarterback. He sees it, and he can kind of dissect, okay, no, we're going to change this out of this, and he's the most cerebral quarterback I've seen since Peyton Manning, and he might be better than even Peyton Manning at the line of scrimmage, and to me, that is why he's better than he's ever been. You can't beat him in any chess match, no matter what the defense is presenting. Brady can manipulate out of it. It's fantastic to watch from just
Impromptu, would you rather then? Would you rather have 2007 Tom Brady or the cerebral one that you're saying is better?
It's a great one.
I want this one with Randy Moss. I'll take that one. Exactly. That 07 year was crazy. He doesn't dunk from the free throw line anymore, but he gets to the
Go on.
That's how you win.
I don't do these would you rathers, but would you rather build your franchise around Michael Jordan or build your franchise around Tom Brady?
Michael Jordan. Mike Jordan. Basketball,
Really?
he's got to play defense, too. Defender of the year. Come on, guys. Let's get into it now.
7-5 in basketball made itself into the conversation. Weird.
We did it!
Speaking of the defending champs, Bill Belichick has led the Pats to the Super Bowl for the 8th time as a head coach. The fact that he's done so despite key injuries to guys like Julian Edelman, Dante Hightower, to name a few, as well as numerous off-field distractions. So we'll put that. Makes 2017 his best ever coaching performance. Do you guys believe that? Or not so much?
Not so much. I'm not falling for the distractions. Every team deals with them. Every team deals with injuries. So this isn't something new that Bill Belichick had to deal with. And I look back to 2004, where they won the Super Bowl, had an amazing year, but also they had Troy Brown, the wide receiver, playing corner. One of the most bold decisions I've ever seen in professional sports. A wideout out there at nickel, locking down wide receivers. And just to prove that they do things the same way, and they've been doing it the same way for years, in that season, he played amazing on both sides of the ball. And just like the Patriot way, they cut him the following season.
That's of course.
So
gotta do it.
That right there, it's kind of that was one of the best coaching performances I've ever seen.
2001, everyone forgets this now. Drew Bledsoe was the highest paid player in football. He was the franchise quarterback. He'd already taken him to one Super Bowl. He goes down with an injury after the Mo Lewis hit, and Belichick has to decide, do I go with the second-year guy, Tom Brady, who's a 6th-round pick, kind of a doughy-looking guy who basically wasn't even looked at the combine, or the franchise, and he chose Brady, and then they go and they beat the greatest show on turf. To this day, it's still Belichick's most amazing coaching performance. They were 14-point underdogs, and they won that Super Bowl in New Orleans, and they did it with a backup quarterback filling in for Drew Bledsoe. I got to go with that.
Doughboy?
Doughy is my favorite adjective ever used on the show.
That quarterback, no. We all have different answers here. You talked about the 07 season when he lit it up with Randy Moss. Yeah. The next year, Brady blows out his knee. Bernard Pollard. Bill Belichick with Matt Castle goes 11-5. Guys, they won the last 4 games of that season. They came running, didn't get into the playoffs despite 11-5. We've always wondered, is it Belichick, is it Brady? Well, that year it was Belichick with Matt Castle, who, let's be honest, afterwards did not go on to great success. So I put that all on Belichick. 11 games without Tom Brady. That's the year.
I also think during this past offseason, we talked so much about how this team could go undefeated. There were such high expectations, and I don't think anybody's surprised that they're in the Super Bowl or surprised that they had success even after losing Edelman and Hightower. So those are 3 great answers, and you guys can play along at home, of course, at #GMFB as we continue Believe It or Not. Nick Foles silenced the critics Sunday night by throwing 3 touchdowns in a blowout win over a Vikings team that was supposed to have the league's best defense. This was the magical Vikings. So let me ask you guys, Foles can repeat that performance against the Pats in Super Bowl 52. Do you believe that or not?
I believe not, because it was a perfect game. I don't think he can, and I don't think he has to. We always come back to the Patriots take away what you do best. I challenge anybody to say, exactly what is that for the Eagles? What do you take away that is sticking out that is their best? We know with Jacksonville, they jumped Fournette. With Tennessee, they jumped Derrick Henry. With Pittsburgh, they jumped Le'Veon Bell. Philadelphia, it kind of keeps you guessing. They're extremely balanced. So I don't think Nick Foles can do that because it was a Rembrandt, was perfect. But I don't think he has to either. I think they can win this game without him playing that well.
He was flawless Sunday night, but I think he can replicate it because of the coaching staff and what they draw up for him. They work to his strengths. If you look at what they do, what their game plan was against Atlanta was completely different to what their game plan was against Minnesota. It was all that RPO, short 8-yard outs. They went deep right away, and they went deep often. They threw a flea flicker. I think that the offensive coordinator, Frank Reich, and the quarterback coach, John DeFilippo, can construct the perfect game plan.
They've been great.
That they can face any defense, because they faced 2 very different defenses, and Foles played 2 very different games, and they won both those. I am very high on Nick Foles. I have been since I saw him in person against the Giants, and I don't think that stops against the Patriots.
Except Belichick has 2 weeks to figure out what they're
No doubt.
Sure does.
You know how I feel about Nick Foles. I think he's in perfect position to do something very special. But I was listening to Chris Long after the game. He was talking to Stacey Dales, and he was talking about the Patriots, and he was glowing about the win. And he said something. He said, "We're going to have to play the perfect game." And I disagree with you, KB. I feel like he's going to have to play the perfect game. As good as we thought he was this past weekend, he's going to have to play even better in 2 weeks. And here's the thing about that. In the biggest moment of his career, last weekend, he stepped up big and had the big-time game. I heard it all the time since I was a rookie. They said big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. Nothing bigger than this stage right here in Super Bowl. He plays a perfect game. That defense flying around. We're crowning the underdog Super Bowl champs.
He's going to dance the Black Swan twice. Perfect, right?
Yeah.
That ain't easy,
hard to do, baby.
Jeffrey's a friend of the show. We've given him a lot of love. You called it. You wanted to see a big game from him, and he delivered, catching 2 of those touchdowns from Nick Foles. He's 6'3". He's a big receiver, making plays downfield, and he I want to know if you guys think he has been the Eagles' most important addition all throughout the 2017 offseason, and there were a lot, but Alshon Jeffrey is the most important. Believe it or not, Shrakes.
Do not believe it. It's all about QB, and it's number 9. Nick Foles, man. Nick Foles, they brought in Nick Foles as a backup, and here's Nick Foles leading the way. I look at when he's 5-1, right? That one loss was that weird game against the Cowboys in Week 17 where it was really Nate Sudfeld, and who knows what was going on in that game. It wasn't even a game. Who cares where they're resting? Nick Foles has been flawless, and if they don't have Nick Foles, they're not here. If Chase Daniel's the quarterback, they're not here. If it's Nate Sudfeld, they're not here. If it's Sam Bradford, I don't think they're here. Nick Foles has been the most important addition because he resembles a lot of the stuff that Carson Wentz does, and he's been in the system before, and they have trust in him. I'm going Nick Foles, the most important addition.
Anybody else want to go?
No, I mean, it's really like you just sunk our battleship with that. But aside from Foles, if I would look at the accessories, the accoutrements, the complementary pieces, I will go with Alshon Jeffrey because obviously he's 6'3", like you said. He plays like he's 6'8", and just here's what I love about him. He's come on strong as the season's gone on. 7 touchdowns in the second half of the year. He's not an 11-catch guy like Antonio Brown, but something I forget. Last year, worst red zone team. They had huge issues.
They had no red zone.
Look what they did Sunday night. Alshon Jeffrey from the 5-yard line. Just chuck it up to him. Touchdown. You're not stopping us. If you jump, he'll go with the blunt. There's so many of them. If I had to pick one, I would go with Alshon.
I'm going with the QB, man.